think, the previous quarter was really the key to that question. When we look at the previous quarter, things started to fall apart a little bit, and all of a sudden people started to wonder if the recovery was real or we were going to have a double-dip recession. And I think what happens then is that a lot of the things that were positive sustained themselves throughout the quarter, and it was a realization that we weren't going to have a double-dip recession. Things were going to actually get better over time, although at a very slow pace. Well, the business leaders are quite positive in this index. The overall number is quite strong, and that's a very good thing. But if you look at the individual components and go through them, certain components are much stronger than others. In particular, the profits component and the sales component are very strong. So I think it's saying that business leaders are telling us that they think their business is back, but it isn't telling us so much that they're planning on hiring. And when we look at what we're going to call the overall recovery of the economy, we're certainly focused on the hiring aspect. Well, we really outperformed the national economy in the first part of the recession, but last year we really had an extremely difficult year in 2009, and 2010 also was a very difficult year. So we actually lagged a little bit in terms of the national recovery during that time period, the 09-10 period. So really we haven't been recovering as fast as the national economy. Our business leaders, though, think we're doing better, and I think that really comes down to the fact that business leaders aren't focused so much on employment growth as they are on sales growth and profitability, and they see their businesses doing well in terms of sales growth and in terms of profitability. Well, I think the overall reading is a pleasant surprise in terms of just the total number being as strong as it is really a sign that the survey respondents think the economy is on track. And the fact that all of the components were positive, meaning above 50 or expanding, is a good sign. The capital expenditures component, the hiring component, all of the pieces were positive. So they really are signaling that overall they see better times ahead. Well, I do think that was a contributing factor. I talked about the fact that the economy overall, didn't go into a second dip and it looked good. But we resolved a lot of uncertainty during the last few months as well, the last quarter of 2010. In particular, the election uncertainties and, frankly, the tax uncertainties were resolved. And so we knew the environment was going to be more stable. We sort of know what's going forward in front of us. And regardless of our view on who got elected or who didn't get elected, at least there's a certainty of knowing who won the elections and what resolutions were passed. In terms of the capital expenditures, a large group of the respondents, over half, said they were in a neutral position. They didn't plan on expanding. The net of the number is slightly positive, meaning of the remainder, more people said they were going to invest in capital than were going to decrease or go negative in the capital part. But it's an overall number that's really close to 50, not particularly expansionary. Hiring was a little bit better, but still it's not the kind of robust number we need to make any dent in the unemployment number, for example. I think there has to be certainty that the growth is going to be maintained. That's number one. And I think there really is an issue of not knowing how much labor is going to cost. And what I mean by that is you know how much you can offer somebody or have to pay them in terms of a wage or a salary, but you don't know what their total cost is going to be of compensation. And in particular, we don't know what healthcare benefit costs are going to be over time. And I think that remains a big concern in the overall business hiring perspective. Well, the sales number was up significantly, and so was the profit number. So I think they're really seeing things pick up. They feel good about that going forward, and that should lead ultimately to more investment in capital equipment and in hiring if it sustains over a prolonged period. Well, their overall number for inflation that came out of the survey was they expected about 2.25% inflation for their cost of doing business, which is pretty moderate or modest in this environment. You know, we're in a low inflation environment. They're really not talking about big cost increases, which is a good thing. They did express some concerns about healthcare costs and benefit costs in particular. That's one thing that's on the horizon we're going to pay a lot of attention to. I think the story for Colorado is sustained growth, especially on the sales and profits sort of end of business, and also some additional hiring, some additional investment in capital, but at a slow pace, consistent with the kinds of employment numbers we've been seeing in the fourth quarter. Positive growth, but a very slow growth in terms of employment.